Yes, people, it's Loki Man '07, right? And I'm back with another video. And as of late, I've been making these, videos about, deeper aspects of entertainment. Check out the Persona 5 and Occult Study. Check out um, WandaVision, right? My WandaVision video, which was WandaVision, A Tale of the Goddess Isis. What I'm going to do in this video, we're going to dissect the Loki TV show and the Disney Plus TV shows, right? And we're going to get into some things that you will never really catch, right? This is some high level stuff, okay? Just like, trust me, right? But it's interesting, right? Especially from a creative aspect, okay? This stuff gets super creative the more you understand. Okay, so first things first, I want to talk about, all right? I want to talk about WandaVision. Obviously, in the previous video, I referenced that WandaVision was the tale about Goddess Isis, patching her dead lover back together again to create a child, or in Wanda's case, to create children. It's about fertility. So I'm gonna buff that for you right now. Okay, so first of all, right, WandaVision, right, is about the constellation Pisces. Okay, and the constellation Pisces runs from February 19th to March 20th. Okay, so WandaVision was running and came to an end in the month of Pisces. I mean, in the under the constellation Pisces. Okay, and which is a common theme, right, with all of the TV shows about the constellations and the themes. Okay, now first of all, okay, right, so the word Pisces, okay, is Latin for the word fishes. Okay, so this, like, so in Greek myth, okay, in Greek myth, Pisces represents the fish, sometimes represented by a shark, into which Aphrodite, okay, also considered Venus, all right, and her son Eros, right, also considered Cupid, transformed in order to escape some monster called Typhon. Okay, all right, so. But right, so that's a small little bit of mythos, right? So Pisces, I'm just saying that just to let you know that Pisces, the constellation, is associated with a particular goddess. Okay, now this goddess, right, takes very few looking up. Right, Aphrodite is associated with Venus. Okay, she's also associated with the Sumerian goddess Inanna. Right, so and then this Sumerian goddess, right, Inanna, is another version of the Semitic goddess Astarte and the Akkadian goddess Ishtar. Okay, this sounds random, and I've said in previous videos, all these goddesses are linked, right? So these are goddesses from different cultures that are all linked. So when I said, is WandaVision a tale of the goddess Isis, just understand that all these goddesses are like various other cultures' version of the Egyptian Isis, right? Boom. Right, so but the interesting thing is Ishtar, right, we still have like certain little celebrations to these deities. So in Western culture, in modern culture, Ishtar has become Easter. Ishtar becomes Esther, becomes Easter. So as you can see from the month Pisces, where it runs to, it's associated with Easter and Easter time, and of course fertility time, or what we call springtime. Okay. Okay, so right, if you're not clocking, right, one division represented those things, represented fertility, hex, which is the number 6, which is also the word sex, which is where 6 gets its etymology from. So as you can see, it was all about making a husband from scratch. You get me? Just like the goddess tales, you know, from pieces of his dead body. Boom. If you don't know those mythologies, well, I'm just letting you know them now. Okay. So next we get into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Check this out. Falcon and the Winter Soldier runs through the constellation Aries. That's not the same as the god Ares. Okay. Both Aries and Aries come from the exact same mythology. Okay. So the zodiac Aries represents the golden ram from Greek mythology, and Ares represents the god of war. Okay. And I've also mentioned in the same One Division video that Captain America, that mantle, represents the god of war. Right. So but it runs through Aries. Aries is not Aries. If you ever look up, you know, is Aries and Aries etymologically connected, it's always going to say the same thing. They're from the same mythology, from the same language. So it's, you know, but here's the catch. Okay. The constellation Aries, which is a fire sign, is ruled by the planet Mars. Okay. Guess who Mars is? Mars is the Roman equivalent of the Greek Ares, the god of war, both of which are gods of war. Okay. So what is Falcon and Winter Soldier about? It's about Captain America. It's always going to be based around war because he represents Ares, you know, the guy with the shield. You get me? The indestructible shield. Yeah, so it's the same deity. Okay. Right. So the time in which Falcon and the Winter Soldiers runs, or Aries, is about the new sun. Okay. It's the rebirth of the new sun. Okay. And the sun is associated with eagles, falcons, phoenixes, Horus, who is also represented as, you know, falcon, phoenix. So trust me, this stuff, trust me. Okay. All right. So it's about the new sun in the age of Aries. Okay. The Captain America mantle represents the age of Aries, and Falcon becoming the new sun. Okay, yeah, the new hero of the year. So springtime is the hero of the year. That's when your crops start to grow. Okay, it's harvest time. Okay, right. And if you think it's a bit of a stretch, right, One Division actually started airing on the 15th of February, right? So it falls in line with what we do, right? What do we do on the day before that? We're getting prepared for this seasonal change by concentrating on the sexual aspect of humankind. You got Valentine's Day, etc., etc. There's all sorts of celebrations that happen around these particular times. Okay, so we get into the most obvious one. Okay, right? If you see where this is going, okay, we get to Gemini, don't we? right? uh, is it making sense now? Okay, like obviously this is shit is ironclad. Okay, right, we get to the Loki TV show that airs on the 6th. Right, you gotta understand, right? There's all sorts of storyline, right? That 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 could disprove me. Okay, so for example, One Division was supposed to come out right after Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was supposed to air first. Okay, but was it? Okay, what was it? Right, so here's a funny one. Right, um, obviously Gemini represents twins. Right, in the sky it kind of looks like the number 11. And when they announced the Loki TV show, it was set to air on the 11th of the 6th. Okay, or 6/11. Get me? All right. But obviously Disney have their dates is beforehand. The executives above the showrunners know when their shit's gonna happen, but it wasn't gonna run on the 11th. But it got delayed. I mean, it got pushed forward, didn't it? Random. How random is that? It got pushed forward, but they just wanted to display that date because that date was a sign of what's to come. Okay, right? It's like if you didn't know that, you know, that there was going to be Gemini symbology, then you know, here's one, which is funny because it also represents it's the 6th month, and six also plays out as well. But we won't get into all of that. Right? Let's just keep this on the straight and narrow. So in short, as we all know, Gemini is about twinning. Right? So boom, a mirror reflection of the self, two aspects of the same thing, male and female, the two pillars, Boaz and Yashin, etc, etc. So boom, what do we get? We get a show about Loki and the female version of himself. Say no more. So I'll just explain that, right, just to let you know, right, that if you're hip to this stuff, right, obviously, right, it's right there. Okay, so people, I hope you're getting softened in, because I'm gonna go in on the Loki TV show. Okay, so if you didn't clock, Gemini is linked to the number 6, which is the Lover's card. Okay, which is linked to Adam and Eve, and obviously Adam and Eve represent Gemini, and then you have the snake with the knowledge, who is you know, he who remains. Right, that's the thing, right? And the timeline represents 2 trees. Okay, you got the tree of life, which, you know, the circle of life. So as you can see, it's the circle. All right, and then you have the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is the expansion tree. That's what when Eve. Okay, so let's say Loki is Adam. Adam is the fool. Okay, so let's say Loki is Adam. He's the fool in the garden without the knowledge. L would be the magician, the one with the knowledge. Then you've got this Hierophant-like character, which is the serpent. Sorry, excuse me. And anyway, then you have Eve. Okay, so Eve gets the knowledge. She's the one bouncing around the timeline, the trees. She's the one bouncing across the trees, getting the knowledge from the tree, and she imparts that knowledge to Loki. Okay, and you get me? They release chaos. They release the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the chaos. Okay, all that is symbolized in this show, because this show is about that aspect. But now we're going to go into the trope of the trickster and how this show was written. Okay, so let's keep things grounded. Right? When it comes to the trickster trope, okay, this is a trope that has been used over and over again in various films and media. You probably haven't realized that you've watched Loki before. Okay, I'm just going to use one movie as an example here, which is the movie Soul, which is also a Disney movie, because I've mentioned in my previous videos that Disney, they always do these tales of the gods thing, okay, and that all these Marvel movies and shows are just ripped straight from mythology. Okay, you can't make the whole comic book saga. It's easier to just take these little ancient poems, okay, and make them into the movie which the comics are inspired by in the first place. But the comics turn it into this massive epic. TV shows and movies, you can't do that. How long is it going to run for? How many episodes? How much is it going to cost? Right? So they just shorten the comic book stories into the tales of the gods. Simple as that. So the Loki tale is like a mixture of many mythologies about the chaos character being sent to the underworld. Okay, right, to put it plainly. So that's all it's about. The fall of the chaotic character, right, or the trickster. Right, check this out. Right, this is I'm just gonna read something to you. Right, trickster roles. Okay, this is about trickster roles. Tricksters operate outside the framework of right and wrong. Tricksters do not recognize the rules of society. Their characters and actions are far from simple. However, often childish, greedy, lustful, and even nasty. Tricksters can also be friendly, helpful, clever, and wise. Sometimes they appear to be clownish, clumsy, or foolish. Although they usually possess amazing powers of survival, a trickster may come to a sorry end in one story, but then, after being miraculously brought back to life, reappear in other tales. Right, so that's got nothing to do with Loki. That's just a quick Google search. I just typed in trickster versus order. Right, that's one of the first things you get. Okay, and as you can see, that just describes Loki to a T. That's a perfect description. So I'm just reading that to let you know that this TV show was written following certain conventions. Okay, all right, and then this is the same thing for any tale of the trickster. I'm gonna give you some examples. Okay, right, but I'll get into that later. Right, let me find something else for you. Okay, the trickster, right, a figure who relies heavily on guile and trickery to get what they want, is a frequent feature in mythology of a wide variety of different cultures, sometimes cast as the hero of their own particular tale and sometimes taking on a more villainous role. you see this shit? What they all seem to have in common is that they are unpredictable, potentially dangerous, and often extremely intelligent, though just as often prone to fits of foolishness. Most often depicted as male, they will also often be given the ability to change their shape, taking on whatever form best suits them, including the form of animals. In general, whether depicted as heroic or villainous, a trickster can be taken as representing a direct defiance of natural order, okay, and of normal rules and conventional behavior, sometimes to the benefit of both himself and the culture as a whole, and sometimes to his own detriment. So anywhere you go, read about the trickster, you'll find these similarities. There's stuff about shape shifting, right? Especially into animals. So you know, hey, crocodile Loki don't or alligator Loki, sorry, don't appear in the comics. I wonder why alligator Loki's there. Just because Loki sometimes just be an animal. You get me? So tricksters just be an animal. Um, uh, the Native American trickster Coyote is heavily influenced on this show. Okay, he's an animal. Okay, tricksters always take forms of animals. Right, so now we got that down. Right, I want to talk about a movie called Soul. Right, which is the exact same story as Loki. Okay, like I said, Disney just used these tales of the gods to just write things. So here's another example from another Disney film. Right, and check this out. Okay, so both Loki and Soul are about fools. Okay, and the fool is directly linked to the literal number 0. So both these characters are zeros. The main character in Soul is a guy called Mr. Gardner, who's a musician, and it's about him you know, having his own trickster's fall, because this Mr. Gardner is Loki. Okay, so anyway, the first thing the movie does is introduce you to the loser side of this character, and then he gets his big break. But when he gets his big break, his foolishness, just like the Fool card, he's walking and wandering into danger. Like, the whole scene as before he dies is a physical representation of the Fool's card. Right, it's like and then as you can see, the Fool is walking towards the cliff. When Mr. Gardner's walking towards the manhole, get me? And so you get to see what happens when the Fool continues to walk. He takes a fall, right? And this stuff is tied directly to what I was talking about earlier about the fall and how it's linked to Adam, the original Fool, the first Fool, the 0. Okay, and the release date of Soul was October 11th, 2020. I don't know if this is planned or not, but it seems like there was aiming for this 11, right? Because just like with the Loki TV show, 11 was the first symbology you saw when they gave you a release date. And not only that, 11 directly represents Gemini. I'll get into that. And the reason why June 11th is important because it's the only time 11 appears in the Gemini time frame. So it basically becomes 11/11. Okay, but let's continue. So the main character, Mr. Gardner, has his full moment. He falls to his death. And then when he awakens, he's on a revolving like an escalator, which is going up to the white light, right? And, you know, that white light after death. And obviously this white light is just absorbing all the souls. Okay, and that is a representation of Saturn eating souls. Okay, right, believe it or not. Right, so the mythological god Saturn eating the souls of his children. Okay, so everybody else is under order because that you know. So and obviously Loki or Mr. Gardner, and bearing in mind, like I say, this Fool is linked to Adam. Adam is in the Garden of Eden, so his name, Mr. Gardner, is, you know, what was Adam doing in a garden? He was a gardener. He's taking care of the nature, and so even that pays. And if you think, right, that these things are random, okay, the movie itself does certain things. So anyway, Mr. Gardner is shouting at the other people, "What's wrong with you people? You get me? Like, why aren't you reacting?" And they're just like, "I don't know." They're just in line. You get me? Like, they're in order. They're not just following the conventions of things that are happening. But the trickster always represents going against the status quo. So he's out of there. You get me? He's like, "Nah, I'm not. Yeah, look, let me off. I'm not. My soul's not getting eaten." You get me? He's analyzing what's happening. So he starts running, and besides, he wants to live. Okay, I want to do what I want to do. Just like Loki wants to do what he's wants to do, and he ends up falling off the escalator, and you know, he falls through time and space into the underworld. Okay, so and I mentioned earlier that the Loki TV show is about a Native American god Coyote. So anyway, when he falls, he lands on his back, just like how Loki lands on his back when he jumps back in the Tesseract, representing his fall into the underworld. Because remember, Loki is supposed to die in real time. He died in Avengers Endgame. So this is Loki once again escaping death and falling into the underworld. So, and Mr. Gardner falls into underworld, lands on his back. Just like how when you see Loki in the desert, he's on his back, right? Representing falling, innit? Right? He obviously fell, and when Loki gets to the TVA in the Loki TV show, just like how all those souls were being raptured, you see souls being raptured or sacrificed to something that's gonna eat. You don't know that at the beginning of the show, but everybody that got you know, picked off, yeah, at the beginning of the show, got fed to Alioth or fed to the Demiurge, right? We'll get into all of that in this show, but here, I mean, in this video. But yes, in what's it called, Soul, like I said, just to let you know that this was the tales of the trickster. You meet an entity called Jerry. All these other entities are called Jerry, alright? But this particular Jerry does what Mobius is doing. And all these Jerrys are like clones, variations of themselves. If you know, in the comic book Mobius, there's many Mobiuses, right? But Mobius represents the Hierophant to Loki, which is like he's somebody he can lean on, okay? And but in Soul, this Hierophant, the first Jerry that Mr. Gardner meets, randomly gives a shout out to Coyote, right? To just let you know it's the tale of the trickster Coyote. So randomly, Jerry calls one of these new souls Coyote for no reason, right? They're not even supposed to be named yet, they're numbered, but she calls one Coyote. It's a random piece of dialogue in the movie to let you know this is the tale of the trickster, aka Coyote. Okay, and just like with the goddesses are linked, these deities are all linked. Also, there has to be the Eve element or the opposite, because it's about the number 11. So he meets Soul 22, okay, which that number is not an accident. All of the other souls got ridiculous numbers except for Soul 22, and 22 is 11 at a higher frequency. It's just an 11 stacked upon itself. So if Gardner is 11, then Soul 22 is a reflection of himself at a different frequency. So 11 and 22, same thing, different frequency. 11 multiplied by the power of itself. Boom. So Soul 22 is Mr. Gardner, another aspect of himself. Soul 22 is a trickster also. Okay, and the movie plays in that Soul 22 is Gardner because when they escape the underworld, okay, and get back to Earth, they land in the wrong souls. I mean, their souls land in the wrong bodies, and Soul 22 lands in Mr. Gardner, and Mr. Gardner lands randomly in a cat. Okay, and this is also playing on the trickster role. What did I say earlier? Tricksters always manifest as animals, so this is Mr. Gardner manifesting as an animal, just like alligator Loki. Okay, he's just randomly in the Loki TV show just so he can manifest as an animal, because you know they're all the same, it's all linked. All right, so in the end, Mr. Gardner had to end up working with another aspect of himself, the feminine, his rib, to overcome the status quo, so they can fall to earth. They fall from the garden. Okay, fall from order. So Loki the TV show has all the same tropes, okay, all the exact same tropes as the Soul movie, because it's supposed to be the exact same story, the exact same tale of the trickster, okay, or the fool's tale, okay. And say for example, the same game Persona 5 is the exact same tale, just expanded into a multiple hour game, 100-hour video game, right? And there's so many consistencies, that the evading death, everything, the whole being like locked into order to work off your time. Yeah, even Mr. Gardner was tasked to work off his time, okay, by helping 22. And you have to work off your time by helping Igor in Persona 5, right? It's so many this stuff is ironclad. It's like it's the same tale over and over again, like this tale of the wild card. Okay, that's what Loki represents. He represents the number 0, which is the wild card, exactly the same as why the Joker is wild, right? That's why the Joker is the wild card. It represents 0, and the Zero's journey is about the 0 getting experience and becoming the hero, which is what happens in Loki's TV show. But let's get into something, some of how Marvel Comics uses characters, not just in the TV show. Obviously these TV shows are inspired by comic books or what have you, but Marvel, every entity you can think of, like from any culture, Marvel has some version of it, multiple versions, different characters of the same thing, right? So like in what is it now, in Marvel Comics, right? I'll give you a perfect example. You have the entity in Marvel Comics called Shumagorath, okay, right? Shumagorath is not an original idea. Shumagorath is just literally Shub-Niggurath from H.P. Lovecraft books in Marvel Comics, okay, boom. Well, Alioth in Loki is literally the entity Yaldabaoth, or the Demiurge, in Marvel Comics, okay. And the way it was used in the Loki TV show was in the exact same way. This entity that permeates all space-time in the void, okay, which is supposed to be the underworld, right? In the void, eating all the souls that the lost souls that come down there. You know, there's so many examples of this demiurge. Stranger Things even has a version of it called the demiurge. The same game I mentioned, Persona 5, has the same demiurge called Yaldabaoth. And wait, so Alioth represents Yaldabaoth, which is a version of Saturn, okay? And funnily enough, He Who Remains also represents Saturn. If you pay attention when he's describing what he does, what he's been doing, and he's talking about the timeline itself, and he's got those little figures on the table that, you know, are showing the events. When he's talking about how he's been watching over the timeline, he's literally standing there with a ring around him, just like Saturn. It's right there, okay? It's right there, right in your face. So yeah, these guys goes to the end of time and literally stand face to face with Father Time. Father Time weaponizing the persona of Yaldabaoth. If you look at this thing, right? When I in my past video I spoke about how He Who Remains is technology, right? Or Kang the Conqueror's technology would make Iron Man shit his pants, right? Imagine, right? You've got Iron Man, right? And if he was to, you know, he's just flying around, this super powerful entity, right? That's Iron Man. But inside the suit, yeah, you manage to enchant Iron Man, and he stops, and then you open the suit, and inside is Tony Stark. So, and when He Who Remains says he weaponized Alioth, that is Father Time weaponizing the altar of Yaldabaoth. The symbology that was used when they opened up Yaldabaoth is exactly the same as Yaldabaoth opening up the trigram, okay, with the realm inside, which I'll have pictures and everything when I'm doing this, so I'll just show you. It's just like, yeah, it's right there. Those symbols are right there, and yeah. So in Soul, the movie, Terry would be the Father Time, the keeper of things, right? And like everybody's name's Jerry, right? Except for this one Terry, right? And probably they decided to put the T there because of time and Terry, but he was doing the same thing, feeding all the souls to this light, this entity, right? And Loki manages to escape that fate, and so or should I say Mr. Gardner, and Loki also manages to escape that fate also. I'm about to wrap this video up, but before I do, I'll just say there are multiple things in these tropes that recur over and over and over again. So for example, just like the falling into the underworld thing, they will always visit other versions or other realms, basically, or other dimensions or probabilities. So like in Persona, for example, you traverse the astral plane and you traverse the metaverse representing the underworld or the void. Loki TV show, you traverse the astral plane, which is the probable times and futures, okay? Just like when you dream, it's like it's astral, it's a probability that could happen in life that probably would play out like this, you know. And then of course he went to the underworld where Alioth was, or Yaldabaoth was. There's even an underworld that's linked to the astral plane in the Soul movie. It's insane. So people, that about wraps up my ramblings for today. I'm gonna leave it there. Alright, drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe, show you've interacted with the channel. That helps the channel. So peace out, people. Have a good one.